Ever since I can remember being little, I've had skin issues myself. Eczema is not just an external issue, it is internal. It does not take as much money as people may think to get good organic ingredients. People have psoriasis, they have scabies, they have all these different kinds of skin eruptions, and it's because they have different toxins. I'm really passionate about a person getting off of grains. When the body is dealing with inflammation, then they're going to get things like eczema. She said for 5 years she had not been able to find anything that could help, and I told her about a particular herbal powder. She took it, and within 4 days it was gone. Oh my gosh, one herb could help with like 15 things. Part of a holistic health practitioner's duty, I believe, and was taught, that it's not just trying to suggest a person do things or give them a listening ear, but it's to educate them too, so that you can empower them to do these things on their own. That's why you're told and you read that gluten can lead up to and over 56 different autoimmune conditions. I'm not paying for no doctor's beach house. We're going to figure this out on our own.
Welcome to tonight's episode of The Health King's Court. I'm your host, Zach the Health King. A quick disclaimer to keep myself out of trouble. Anything that you hear in this podcast is not intended to be taken as medical advice. The thoughts and opinions you hear shared are just that, thoughts and opinions. And any action that you take based on what you hear is done at your own risk. And with that said, enjoy the show. Welcome everybody to today's episode of The Health King's Court. Ancient wisdom, modern health. Today we have a very special guest. She is a holistic health practitioner with a specialty in herbs. She's a certified chiropractic assistant and a certified integrative nutrition health coach. She's the owner of Happy Health Naturally, where she sells over 150 different skincare and body products made only with organic and natural ingredients. She's authored a book entitled Homicide by Hygiene, highlighting the dangers of synthetic skincare and beauty products. I'm very happy to introduce a Miss Michelle Kolcan. Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I do have to actually mention that was a typo that needed to be fixed. I actually have about maybe 50 or 60 products versus 150. But yeah, it's continuously growing. So who knows, maybe up to 150 it'll become.
Hey, maybe by the time someone's watching it, there will be 150. So cool.
Yeah.
But hey, 50, 60, that's still a whole lot. So that's something that we could dive into to begin with. What got you into making skincare products, and what's your philosophy behind making them?
Well, ever since I can remember being little, I've had skin issues myself. For the most part, eczema, which is just these super dry patches of skin. And in fact, one time, I used to be very religious, and I was in school, and the children knew. And during school, I was not to have a boyfriend. And yet I ended up with this really awful dry patch of eczema right in the middle of my throat. Really looked like a hickey, actually, quite a bit. It was so embarrassing. And of course, people knowing my reputation, it was just awful. Um, so I feel like I can really relate to people that have some skin issues and be very embarrassed over them. And I felt whenever down the road I would learn how to make maybe my own, that I may want to get into providing them to others, but it wasn't a huge goal of mine. I just really wanted to maybe create a few things for myself. And once I got my degree, which involved herbs, of course, the essential oils, they come from herbs, and they're very therapeutic, and they can help in healing the skin. And so first of all, everyone know eczema is not just an external issue, it is internal. But you can definitely help improve the condition of your skin with essential oils. And then in digging further into what they do, you learn that these oils and chemicals, different things, they actually enter your bloodstream, so much of it. And so a lot of illnesses can actually either go away or they can also be imposed upon a person by what they put on their skin. So I realized that it was a huge problem that many are not aware of out there, that they could be going to the doctor, not knowing why they have going on what they have going on. The doctor many times doesn't know. And it's because what it is sitting right on your bathroom counter, or, at home, maybe the soap that you're using, to wash your hands, or so many um, things inside your house that you could actually be using, causing these skin problems. And I thought, people need to know, and I could help so many people. So I started school to really do consultations with people in reference to health, and doing so naturally, of course. But it really opened up my eyes, and took me down an additional path, because I still do consultations, but an additional path into making these products. Because in learning about these essential oils, the school I went to, the American College of Healthcare Sciences in Portland, Oregon, they also teach you how to formulate products, and the kind of the safe ratios, to use of the oils versus creams and different things like that. So I thought, wow, this is really so much easier than I thought it could be. Why not also make it a part of my business, and helping people get healthier, and helping them realize that it's possible to find things out there that can not only help your appearance, but most importantly, improve your health. And so, of course, in my consultations, I explain it. It's definitely internal in a big way, but also external. And these products, and they keep increasing in number, because I really do want to provide everything for everyone. So not just a face cream, not just a deodorant, but the makeup, that women want to wear, or men want to wear, just anything that they would want to use for their bodies. I want to be able to provide it to them. And I know, having skin issues myself in the past that I no longer do, it has been so impossibly hard to find things out there that are completely natural. And I say completely because you can find a product with 15 amazing natural ingredients in it, but it is the one preservative in that product that destroys the whole thing. It's synthetically made, and it can cause so many problems. I know I'm kind of going on a rant here. I'm so passionate about the health, the skincare. It is not about money. It's not about appearance to me. In fact, I had a distributor want to pick up my products, and I said no, because I knew that they were going to raise the prices so high to get profit, and I want to try to make them affordable to people. So my prices are where they're at because I feel they're comparable, or they're less, and it does not take as much money as people may think to get good organic ingredients. But these other companies are paying for a lot of overhead, paying, for employees. They're using fancy marketing tactics, or they're using fancy packaging. In fact, recently I looked into changing some of my labeling of my products, and it was just ridiculous how a printed box versus a sticker. Printed box itself could cost you $3 or $4, just one box with print on it, and it's just insane. But anyway, that's another thing too, is I've come from a background where I've not had sometimes no money at all, and wanted to give people a way to be able to get healthier with products they're already going to want to buy. They're already going to spend their money on, but make it a little bit more affordable for them, and healthy for them. And so I could say more, but I'll stop there at the
Yeah,
moment.
yeah, that's all right. Listen, you have a lot of good stuff to say, then we're gonna let you say it. But Yeah, there's a lot of questions I want to ask based on what you just said. I just want to comment. Yeah, I've reviewed your website and the prices do seem very reasonable. In the realm of natural and healthy skincare products that I've seen over the years, there's a wide range and wide range of quality and price, obviously. And yours as regarding the price, yeah, it certainly seems very reasonable and attainable for really anyone's budget because they're gonna, like you said, they're gonna be buying these kind of things anyway, and they're priced very comparably to the synthetic versions that you could just find at Walmart. But yeah, I really enjoy your philosophy because I always say that someone's diet isn't just what they eat. Someone's skincare is their diet. Your diet is everything that you're consuming and intaking and inputting into your body. And with our skin being the largest organ of the body and being porous and absorbing things that we put in and around it, well, of course, how can you not consider it in your consideration of health? But I want to get back a little bit because you said that you suffered from eczema and skin conditions like that when you were younger. Where does that come from, do you think? Because that doesn't just spontaneously happen, right?
Right, right. So eczema is now realized as an autoimmune condition, and it has a lot to do with your liver and gut health. So in getting that taken care of, really any eruption on the skin, if any kind of rash, anything at all, has a lot to do with the liver and gut because your body has these different ways of getting rid of bad things. So it's detoxing all the time. That's why you're sweating. And you're getting rid of these bad, maybe pollutants or other chemicals your body has come across, and you're trying to get rid of these things to keep your body clean and healthy. Well, if a person has an issue with their liver, they're not detoxing very well because their liver is what does so much of the detox work. So toxins happen to live in fat cells. Um, so when they enter your body, they get into these fat cells, and you have a lot of those cells inside your liver. And if your liver's not functioning very well, those toxins can end up kind of staying and gunking up your liver, um, especially if your liver can't get rid of them fast enough. And then being that you have all this junk in there, it makes it even harder for your liver to function properly. So if it cannot get rid of what you need to in your gut, because your gut is working on also releasing things, that's how eventually things are going to go when you use the restroom, is your pores. So your skin, is going to be releasing not only maybe certain things that you just have too much of that you need to get rid of, but it's also going to be releasing these toxins, trying to help your liver out. And based on whatever toxins you're trying to release, whether it be heavy metals, whether it be formaldehyde, no matter what it could be, that's how you end up with the different kind of rashes or skin eruptions. People have psoriasis, they have scabies, they have all these different kinds of skin eruptions, and it's because they have different toxins than another person that they're just overloaded with, that their body's trying to get rid of. So if you can help your liver start functioning properly and start helping get rid of these toxins easier and in the right routes, then you take that job away from the pores of your skin and you clear your skin in a big way. So a lot of it is getting your liver and gut functioning properly so that you can have better skin. And of course, I didn't realize that until I was an adult. So all through my school years, I had these skin problems. And autoimmune conditions, many times they don't necessarily go away completely, no matter what you do, because some of these things you're born with, but you can manage them. And eczema is definitely one thing that can flare up at different times. So sometimes if you're very stressed, your detox systems in your body have a hard time working because they're trying to help you with these stress episodes. Then you can't detox well, and then your skin will start releasing some of these toxins for you because your liver's having a hard time. And then you end up with eczema again. Grains, I'm really, really passionate about a person getting off of grains because there are different gluten proteins in every single grain has its own gluten protein, and gluten is known to be extremely inflammatory for the body. So if a person is consuming gluten in any form, they can cause inflammation. And when the body is dealing with inflammation, then they're going to get things like eczema. They're going to get these other conditions. Gluten is a whole nother story where your body's trying to get rid of it. So again, it can make your skin go crazy in different ways.
There's so many toxins that we face both as adults and as children, and we could certainly go into our theories on where things like formaldehyde are coming from and ending up in young children's bodies, and why we have such a prevalence of autoimmune disorders and autoimmune disorder symptoms such as eczema. We could dive into that at your comfort level, but yeah, there's certainly a lot of toxins going on, and it's our bodies are designed with such wonderful detoxification avenues and pathways, but there's only so much they could take. There's only so much they could take, especially when they're so young and not necessarily fully developed as a body yet. And you said an interesting thing that I just want to get your thoughts on, because a lot of conditions are viewed as born with. Now, does that mean that you were always destined to have it? Or is that person just inheriting toxins from their mother's body? Does that, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people,
I
a
do,
lot of people
100%.
see, a lot of people see something, oh, they were born with that, and that they just stop the questioning there. They stop, oh, well, that, there's nothing you could do about
Yeah,
it. Well, no, I always think that there's something you could do about it. Well, maybe your mother could
yeah.
have done about it.
It bothers me a lot when a person really has just settled into a lifestyle because they feel that, they're just destined to be a certain way physically because of their genetics or because they were born a certain way. So um, I feel that 9 times out of 10, uh, you can be born with conditions, but I do believe that many things can be reversed. I really do. There's been so much information, so many clinical studies, so much traditional medicine ways of healing that have proven just time and time again that people no longer have even some of the autoimmune conditions that they were told they had. And, some of the doctors now, when you talk with them, they may say, no, you can't cure an autoimmune condition. You can't reverse this or that. But many times these doctors too have not had the opportunity to see a lot of the newer information because they are still remembering information they were taught 25 years ago or 20 years ago. Some of this information is only 5 years old. And that's what I tell a lot of my clients too is, when you decide to research things on the internet, you need to make sure, for one, that it's rather recent. It at least includes some really recent information. And I say that when it comes to, say, the National Institute of Health or some of these government agencies, a lot of the things that you find online. I do feel like there's hundreds and hundreds of years of older information that is super valuable to people now and physicians, from the Chinese, from Ayurveda, from all these older ways of, the medicine woman or the medicine man, the shaman, the people that do all those healing. Well, that's not recent education that they've gotten to do these things. These are years and years and years of proven ways of healing. So I'm more so talking about when you go on the internet and you're looking at, information that's provided, say, through the government or through, maybe medical conventional physicians 20 something years ago, because it very likely or many times has changed or never was actually true research and studies at all. Some of it was just based on animal studies, never done on humans. Um, but
Some, some of it was just based on a product that they had to sell.
yeah, exactly. Some of it was just money driven, and for the pharmaceutical industry. And my degree is in complementary and alternative medicine.
And that's such a mystery.
So, so complementary meaning sometimes conventional will complement the natural or vice versa. I do believe there is a place. Sometimes you do need surgery. Sometimes you need a shot of epinephrine, but 99% of the time, I believe something could be dealt with naturally if someone has the patience for it. Because that's the thing, is herbs a lot of times take longer to heal someone, but you're going to suffer consequences, very bad consequences from prescriptions when, yes, they do say a blood pressure pill you take. Yes, it's going to lower your blood pressure and it's going to do it like that. But all the other things that it could be doing to you and will be doing to you. People want quick fixes for things, and it works because it's so strong right away. But that strength is what hurts you in a big way. It's like having a sledgehammer, hit up against something. Yeah, you're gonna put a big old dent and change whatever you're hitting in a big way right away. But you may be able to do the same and use something smaller and work slowly at it for a time, and yet it not damage the surrounding environment or, so forth. So
Yeah, and that certainly brings up a psychological discussion on how people have been led to just neglect their own health or whatever they have going on in life. And then all of a sudden, alarm bells, panic. I need to do this drastic measure, surgery, poison pills, this, that, the other. Well, then, yeah, the idea inherently should be, well, let's not get to that point in the first place. That takes the patience, that takes the work, that takes the dedication to make good decisions over time. But I just want to touch on something you said, because for the most part, yes, I certainly agree with you that the more natural and holistic routes are usually more slow release type healing modalities, but that doesn't mean that there's not some heavy hitting complementary or alternative things out there. I've seen things happen very quickly with certain things. My animal has a cancerous bump that he developed when he was on the streets, and we used just a plant salve. It's called black salve. Applied it topically. Within 24 hours, it was shriveled up. Within 48, it was off.
oh yeah, I
So
definitely.
that doesn't, so I just want to highlight that there are plenty of things out there that people would underestimate, and they would actually, bam, get results sometimes even faster
Mhm.
than a synthetic solution or so-called solution.
That is so true. And I would have eventually said that for sure. People tell me that too with some of my products. They can't believe how sometimes just the very next day, their dry, cracked hands are so much softer and smoother from wearing something overnight. Or I had this one lady who she had lymphedema in her hands. They were swollen all the time. And she said for 5 years, she had not been able to find anything that could help. And I told her about a particular herbal powder. She took it, and within 4 days, it was gone, and she couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's so impressive, and you're absolutely right. Things that can be so fast, but I wish that people many times were more patient, because in quite a few instances, too, they're looking for that quicker fix, and they're hurting themselves.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
what was your grand revelation that got you into the area of holistic health or got you into the area of, hey, these synthetic body care products or synthetic anything are hurting me? Because when some people are raised into that kind of family and raised with parents that understand that kind of knowledge, but a lot of people aren't. And the resources to explore those kind of alternatives are becoming more plentiful, but they weren't always that way in this modern age. So what was your grand revelation, or how did you kind of figure out, hey, I got to find a better way? There it is.
That's true. People have asked me that quite a few times. It's hard for me to answer because I feel like I had a lot of little things that kind of built up to this feeling like this is what I want to do. Um, and my dad actually, when I was, let's see, maybe 6 years old, I have a younger brother who was getting sick all the time with a lot of respiratory problems year after year. My dad said, I'm not paying for no doctor's beach house. We're going to figure this out on our own. So I remember him saying that. I don't share some of the same feelings he does, but anyway, that's what he said. And my dad went gung ho with the whole natural way of trying to take care of health as far as food goes. So we went strict vegetarian, and I mean strict. So we had all raw fruits and vegetables. Nothing was even steamed. The only liquid we were allowed to drink was water. And even then, we had to wait about an hour after we ate to drink our water. And we did that for 2 years. And then my dad finally allowed us to start steaming some fruits and vegetables. Um, and then after that fourth year, then he allowed fish and chicken to come along. And it's been pretty much that way for him. Well, up until recently, but many, many years after that. But we really ate that way for the rest of our teen life. And the only person we ever had to see was a dentist for our regular checkups. And we had no other issues at all besides, I think I'm one of four kids. I'm the oldest, and the other three had gotten like chicken pox. Um, but yeah, nothing really else came along. I think strep throat maybe 2 or 3 times, but I think that in a way helped me see that eating better kept us from being sick. And then just growing up as an adult, going to Walmart actually and seeing the Woman's World magazines right there at the registers, and seeing, this plant purifies the air, and this little plant can help get rid of headaches, and all these little things that I would read and see, and it would just put into my mind, wow, why are people spending all this money on these drugs when they could just do this? So it really got my curiosity going for a long time. And so I believe it was just that got me interested in going to school for natural medicine. And then when I actually went to school, I I was just astounded, like just incredibly astounded that one herb could take care of 15 different ailments, depending on how you prepared it and used it. But I thought, wow, I could just get this one thing and it could help with so many different things. I could tell this person, to use this and use that, and it's not that hard. So the only aha moment really that comes to my mind is when I was going through college and I started studying the herbs. And that's exactly what came into my head was, oh my gosh, one herb could help with like 15 things. It just amazed me.
That was a beautiful story, and thank you for sharing it. And I really want to emphasize how awesome that was of your dad, because whether, he did everything right or not, or if he did the best he could, the fact that he stood up for his family and said, "Hey, this isn't right. My family needs help." and figured out a way to help you guys, that's amazing. And that's far
Yeah.
too uncommon. It's so conflated with femininity, the realm of holistic and natural health and healing practices. And I really think that that's a disservice to everybody, because is it not a masculine imperative and a masculine duty to be able to, hey, provide for your family, provide health of all things? If you, how can you not do that and consider yourself a provider? You can't even keep them healthy, you know? And so the fact that he was saying, hey, I'm going to figure this out, bam, making decisions, this is what we're going to do, and it worked, you know, that's so amazing. And
It is.
that's something that we need more of. That's
Yeah,
something that we need more of.
I do see now that maybe some of it maybe was a little off, but maybe that's why I had some of the gut issues that
Yeah.
I had, years back, but it really did keep us away from the doctor's office. And you're absolutely right that it takes a lot of courage, and integrity, and the willingness, to sit down and study. I mean, my dad has a book of, excuse me, a room of just books and books and books. And he's read all of them. And so many of them are health books, and many of them came from when we were little. And so yes, I am very impressed that he took it upon himself to do that. And um, some of the way that he believes, and I believe has carried over, of course, into how I am, where, sometimes you do have to stand up no matter what else everyone else is saying. And because, sometimes you tell people you're going to eat, raw food, they're going to say, oh, I'm not going to be a little rabbit, and they make little fun, and whatever. You say, little things, but, little things don't feel good no matter how big or little they are. If they're negative, they're negative. So, yeah, I agree with you. He showed some strength there, and showed some responsibility in taking care of his family in that way.
Yeah.
Super important, your health more than
That's
anything.
beautiful. And like I said, you know, nobody's perfect. He may have gotten some
Yeah,
things wrong. He may have, you know, done good in this area, but then some of these things weren't so good. But yeah, you know, you got to respect the effort and the principle of it. That's super cool.
absolutely.
And then something that you said regarding the herbs, I want to touch on, because that's something that is just crazy as well, in that one item, whether it's one plant or one blend or one something, isn't just, hey, this is good for blood pressure. It's, this is good for blood pressure if you do this. It's good for, I don't know, skin if you do that. It's good for, you know, menstrual cycle if you do this. Like it's so amazing how powerful so many different individual plants and herbs or different solutions are, and how versatile things really are, you know? And that's why when you study things, it can kind of confuse someone who has a more conventional approach or mindset towards healing in general, because they say, oh, I have X problem, I take X pill. If I have Y problem, I take Y pill. This is for this. This is for this. Like that's a very simple, easy to comprehend thing, but health is more complex than that. And there is more nuance and there's more avenues and there's just a greater realm to explore in its expansiveness, even within one plant. And that's why I see it, how it could be overwhelming for people who don't comprehend the different foundation and the different approach that the world of herbalism or holistic health in general takes. Because there isn't just one solution for one problem. And there could be many different herbs that are also good for that one problem, and you got to find
Yeah,
what's right for you. It's more it's more complex, but at the same time, it's also more simple.
yeah.
It,
I
it's an interesting thing. Go ahead.
I feel really bad, honestly, for so many people that try so hard to be healthy, because there really are so many that try a lot. They go online and they try to research, and they try foods, and they try supplements, and they try all these different things, and then they're like, I can't figure it out. I don't understand why I'm still this way or that way. And unfortunately, some of it does take study. And I tell folks all the time, listen, I'm not going to judge you and make you feel bad for not figuring this out or not figuring that out. I mean, it takes years sometimes to learn so much. And I mean, I had to go to school for it. People go to school to learn how to eat. And yet I think so many people think, oh, fruits and vegetables, and then they go out to the grocery store, they buy fruits and vegetables, and then they don't feel good. What's going on? Because it is more complex, and it takes into account a person's genetics sometimes, or other conditions that they have, why certain things might not be working. And along the lines of what you were just talking about too, with herbs, is one thing that really bugs me. And I understand too why people can get so confused or even give up on herbs. One example is when it comes to the plant stinging nettle. So they could go online, and I've seen this, going online myself. And unfortunately, you could just read something where it may say stinging nettle is great for the prostate. Stinging nettle is good for, BPH, whatever, but in reference to man's health. So man goes to the store, he buys stinging nettle. He takes it actually for quite a while, and his prostate condition is still the same. Well, the problem is that when they went online, that paragraph that they read failed to mention that it's the stinging nettle root that helps with prostate health, and stinging nettle leaf that helps as an antihistamine in the seasonal problematic times of the year. So, or other times, but anyway, it acts as an antihistamine. What's mostly sold out there is stinging nettle leaf. And many companies too, supplement companies, don't put on the back of the bottle the part of the plant that you're consuming. So this man could have very well gone and bought stinging nettle leaf. And sure, it didn't help with the prostate because it's the root. So unfortunately online, it doesn't always say what part of the plant. There might be certain ways you have to prepare it also. And the companies themselves that produce some of these supplements don't put on the labels what part of the plant. And the consumer doesn't even know that they had to figure out that there's different parts of the plant to consider, because they weren't taught that in high school. And there's no way for them to go to college to become a holistic health practitioner or a nutritionist, and also become an electrician, and also become a plumber, and also become a doctor. It's just not possible for everyone to learn everything. And that's why you hire people, that's why you get help, and that's why people like me are very willing and understanding and want to help you, because I understand that we aren't taught those things, unfortunately. And hopefully one day I'll be able to go and visit schools and mention to high schoolers that, and even middle schoolers, that they can do even so much at that point in their life to better their health and prevent health problems, and hopefully get things into the curriculum one day that they need to know. But I understand why so many are confused and even upset out there, because they have tried things and things haven't worked, maybe, or they had to pay a lot of money for something too, and then because it didn't work on what they wanted it to, they lost that money. It's hard out there. And so I love what I do. I'm so happy that I know what I know, and I can share it with folks who are willing to listen.
Yeah. Health maintenance and conscious consumerism are both, or they're neither of them are lazy man's games. Neither of them are lazy man's industries or areas of study. They are both very serious areas of study, and you need to understand or comprehend both of those things in order to really be healthy, right? Because it's not just as simple as, like you said, ooh, stinging nettle, I looked into that, that's good. You have to, ideally, you'd be able to go and just grab whatever stinging nettle and have it be right up front, and have it prepared for you to lead you into what you need to know in order to make a proper decision. But it's business, right? Health is business, whether it is in the conventional sense or the more natural sense or the holistic sense or the supplement sense or the herb sense. There are wonderful company owners and operators out there that are very transparent, but that doesn't mean that they all are. And some of them can be quite the contrary, unfortunately. And we could get into all sorts of things about how those that aren't super nice and transparent in their business practices then end up getting the whole industry in trouble and then get stuff passed to destroy it all. But that's a whole other story. That brings me to something else that I saw on your website, in that you are a member of a consumer laboratory and you kind of help verify who's the dirty players or the good guys out there.
So,
What?
consumerlab.com, you do pay a small membership fee to access their information, and or at least a lot of the information. Some of it's available to the public for free, but they test a lot of supplements. Unfortunately, maybe not a lot of the newer herbal supplements that have come out because they just haven't, they're just so new. But they do test a lot of different companies, a lot of different supplements, and they not only check whether or not a supplement has what it says it has in it, because some of them have been including other things that they're not putting on the label to cheapen the product, but they'll check and make sure that the levels are safe. So they'll let you know if, this is beyond the daily value, or if this is, going to be toxic to you. It lets you know if the levels of things are safe in the supplement. It also breaks it down by price. It lets you know how much you're paying, like per pill. And but it also makes you aware of recalls and warnings. So you're sent notifications of any product or company that has been dealing with these warnings and recalls, so that you can stay away from that company or that particular product for different reasons. I will say I've noticed that the FDA has recalled quite a few natural supplements because of the claims that are made on the labels. So it's not necessarily that the supplement itself is bad, but like well, even cosmetics, they're not supposed to say they're good for this or good for that on the label, because they're making a claim that they haven't paid for. So unless you spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get the FDA, or have this product go through these clinical trials and proven to help with this particular thing, then technically you're not supposed to put it on your label, which is why the FDA makes you put this disclosure on things, which are on my products that say, this has not been tested by the FDA. This is not intended, to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent any disease. And so anyway, Consumer Lab lets you know what products have been recalled. And turmeric, for example, is considered a miracle spice. I love it. It's one of my favorites. But unfortunately, through Consumer Lab, I've been made aware that many companies have been cutting it with other powders, other things, which I think is ridiculous because it's already reasonable enough, I think, in price. But unless you buy organic turmeric, there's a high chance that you could be getting some contaminated things, either with contaminants from the soil that it came from, or you could be it could be cut with rice flour, other things to make it even cheaper for the company, which is really a shame. And it lets you know the source of a lot of these things. Consumer Lab is also really nice about letting you know. It provides all these articles and reports, so you get to read, what is the safe levels of things. What do all these different B vitamins do for you? What do the A and D and E vitamins do for you? It goes through the whole alphabet of the vitamins. You can learn about them, and helps you see at least what the government is suggesting is safe. So
That's a great disclaimer you just mentioned at the end there, because
Yeah.
that brings to question, who is setting these safe levels, right? It's there's so much nuance and so much gray area that people get lost in not seeing, right? Because it is funny how a lot of very powerful natural products happen to find themselves being targeted by lawsuits and shut down or made to issue recalls because so and so level is said by so and so agency to be dangerous. Meanwhile, there's not a single allegorical story of it hurting anyone and tons about it helping everyone. It's certainly funny to say the least that how that keeps happening. Meanwhile, other products, let's say, that have been shown and proven time and time again to do harm, for some reason they're allowed to continue.
Yeah, and there's so many. It's pretty ironic that though they have these daily values that are safe, they do all these clinical trials too and studies that you can read showing that much higher levels are safe.
Yeah,
So it's ridiculous in a big way.
it certainly is ridiculous in a big way. And so yeah, it is a confusing thing, and that's why a lot of people don't bother looking into it or really going to the level that they need to kind of understand holistic health solutions because it does take a lot of not just research, not just external research, but internal intuition, some common sense, some logic, some kind of understanding of the world as a whole to say, okay, here's this, who's presenting it, what are their allegiances, why do they want me to, why are they giving me this information, who are they looking out for, is it me, is it someone else, whether that is a three-letter agency or a product provider or a review agency, a lab, a this, that, you gotta always consider the source of the information in addition to where what the information is. And considering the source isn't just, hey, what is their name? It's who is behind them. It's a very
Yeah,
interesting thing that so many people just have the blinders on about, and they do a good job to kind of keep those blinders on. But enough
absolutely.
about them and what they're up to. Let's talk a little bit more about you. Because it is awesome that there are people like you and like all the different coaches out there in the different areas of specialization to guide people that are looking into these holistic health modalities, but don't necessarily have the time or the know-how or the care to kind of give it their all themselves. And so it's really cool that there's guides like you. And so what does a consultation with you look like? Who's coming to you? What are they asking you? And what are you doing for them?
So I ask a person when they first come to see me to bring whatever supplements they're taking, any prescriptions they're taking, any blood work that they've had run. And it could be, I don't care how old it is, sometimes seeing patterns is important. Um, and really trying to get a good idea of what's going on with their health. And I let them know that those supplements I will go to consumer lab. I will, let them know if what they're taking is safe for them, if they're coming from reputable companies, if they're anything that possibly, could be um, hurting them in some way for some reason. So anyway, when they first come to me, they bring their supplements, their blood work. I have a list of questions. It is a lot of questions. I let them know our first visit is about 2 hours long because I'm asking them questions in reference to not only nutrition, but also what is their sleep like? What is their lifestyle? Like what kind of environment are they in all the time? I talk to them about their digestive health, their oral health, their their skin health. We talk about so many different avenues. I ask them about their social life. So it's about 2 hours, and that's really just me asking them questions. And then I try to follow back up with them in about a week, week and a half. They see me for usually it takes another hour and a half, 2 hours. And I go over some suggestions or just, talk with them and try to feel ways out that they can improve in different ways. I usually start off in the food realm. So we talk a lot about diet and food the first visit around, unless there's really something else that's very pressing that they need to talk about too. And that's their opportunity also to ask me more questions. And that's also where I'm going to try and educate them about some things. So part of a holistic health practitioner's duty, I believe, and was taught that it's not just trying to suggest a person do things or give them a listening ear, but it's to educate them too, so that you can empower them to do these things on their own. And I let them know that at the end of our program, I want them to be at home doing things alone, so they don't need my help. Those first 2 visits, 2 hours each, are bundled together into one price. Currently, it's $265. I do share space with a doctor. He's a chiropractor and functional neurologist. So some of my clients are referrals from him, and some people come to me on their own. And I use his office to sit down and talk with people. I give them about a month to try and, work on changing their diet somewhat or incorporating this or that. And I follow back up with them in a month. And every follow-up visit is about an hour long, 45 minutes to an hour. It just depends. And it's about $75 for those visits. Then I give them about 2 months. If they have any new blood work done, that might be important to do because, if they have terrible blood work in the beginning, we're hoping it improves with their improvements. And so I might want to see how that's going. And then after that mark, which would be about 3 months, I meet up with them again in about 6 months, at the 6-month mark. And hopefully at that point, we've talked about sleep. We've talked maybe even a little bit about exercise, their environment, different things, lifestyle. If they want to keep working with me, they can. But if they don't, then I just hope that they're equipped enough, to do it on their own, and that'd be great. But yeah, I have regular meetings with them for a little while. I give my business number is my personal cell phone number. That's usually warned against, but I do want people to be able to reach me when they feel they need help. So I've had the person, at the grocery store take a picture of a food and say, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And I'll text them back and let them know. And they're not charged for that. I really want them to feel like I'm their ally. I'm like a friend and they can reach out to me and we're helping each other.
Yeah, and it's funny. That's why a lot of holistic health practitioners make for really crap business people, right? Because we just want to help everybody. We just want to, we just want to make friends and see people do well. And ultimately, the goal of any righteous holistic health practitioner is to eliminate their clients, to go on. Now you have everything you need. You don't need me. The student is now a master, and you don't need me. It's funny how that works.
Yeah, and I'm learning my lesson, I to tell you, in a way. So I don't mind it in a big way, but I understand why it's warned against because it could be quite time consuming. And I am working on trying to get a course together so that a lot of what I do share with people individually, I can simply share, with many at one time and help. Yeah.
Yeah, organization is certainly essential for any business. It's hard to be informal, but then also grow and yeah. So that's a struggle that a lot of people in the healing world face. Now, understanding, of course, that past successes don't indicate future results, and understanding that you're not making any claims to do anything in particular, are there any really awesome success stories of someone that's worked with you that you'd want to maybe touch on? Someone that really stood out as like, wow, they did what I said, and Oh my God, look at them now.
I did have this one person who she I talked to her about coffee enemas actually. And of course she was real nervous to do it. Um, and I said, well, listen, if you're really that nervous, I'll come to your house. I'll be there, just in case, for whatever reason, I'll be in the other room. And I went there, and so she was willing to do it. And um, she felt so much better even just the first time doing it. And then after about maybe 2 weeks passing and doing it several times, she said, Michelle, I feel like every client you have should be doing this. And I feel like you need to tell everyone. She's like, I was to the point of maybe committing suicide. She's like, I felt like, because she had a lot of digestive problems, especially acid reflux, and just really, really, really bad bloat, distension, things like that. And she couldn't believe how much that helped. And she said, and she happens to actually be a singer and songwriter. And she said, I'm going to be doing a show not too long from now. I want to tell everybody about you. And so she asked if I would be there and speak to the group after it was over. So, and she knew I did the products, and she was pretty amazed too, because she said that after changing her shampoo, she actually felt better, and she couldn't believe it. She was actually someone who happened to have celiac and she wasn't supposed to be around gluten at all, or it could cause issues. And her shampoo happened to have gluten in it, and she had no idea. So anyway, two things that I was able to help her with, and I mean, other things, but those are two huge ones that she thought were huge to her. And so anyway, she said, maybe you can get a gift basket together and of your products, and we'll use it when we go to this event. And I'll say, it'll be like a door prize to whoever donates the most, whatever, to the band. And so at the end, I got to speak to the group, and I got to hand out the basket. And actually, the winner of the basket ended up really enjoying one of the face creams. So now she's a regular purchaser of the face cream. But anyway, to me, that's a huge success story. I just love the fact that it was able to help her feel better and do better. And at least a year later, she said, Michelle, I really believe I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So I'm not saying that to brag, but I'm saying that to show people that, natural things can just turn your life around, can just really, really turn your life around.
Yeah, that's a very powerful thing to hear from someone, and I know what that feels like, and that's something that never really leaves you when you hear that from someone. It's a very special thing. So that's amazing. It's amazing that you did that for her. I've heard a lot about coffee enemas and the fantastic benefits of it, and really seems like powerful stuff. I mean, I've never tried it. I enjoy my coffee from the other side, but maybe one day.
Yeah.
A lot of really good.
I mean, there's sometimes when a person shouldn't do one, but that's included in the consultation, is figuring out whether it's good for somebody or not. I mean, a lot of the population, but there's some that shouldn't do one.
Interesting. That's a
Yeah.
very good point that you raised, because yeah, powerful solutions applied incorrectly can have powerfully wrong results. So
Yeah.
yeah, there isn't one thing that's good for everybody. That's a great disclaimer there. Absolutely. You mentioned a lot about gluten, and it's an interesting topic, right? Especially in these common days. And I have seen a lot of demonization of gluten, but I've also seen pushback from people saying, hey, it's not gluten in these pastas and in these wheats and in these breads. It's actually glyphosate. And it's a glyphosate issue that you're having. Glyphosate, of course, being Roundup, a pesticide, et cetera, that is sprayed heavily upon crops and absorbs a lot into wheat. Do you have any weigh in on, is it gluten or is it glyphosate actually? Or is it both?
Well, I definitely believe that glyphosate is extremely dangerous and hurtful to people from consuming it, and can cause, a lot of the same kinds of symptoms and problems. Um, One example I could give is many years back with one of the world wars, there was a time when people only really had bread and water, um, potatoes. They didn't have much at all, of course, to eat because of the times. And a lot of people started going crazy, and they realized it was due to the consumption of all the bread. They were calling it bread madness, which we now call schizophrenia. But it really makes you think.
Yeah, it does. That's I mean, let's not brush over that too quickly.
Yeah,
Red
but
madness, schizophrenia.
yeah, but I really enjoy listening to these YouTube videos from this one doctor, Dr. Peter Osborne. He has his own clinic in Texas. He's had it for over 20 something years. He's traveled many places trying to make people aware of gluten and the issues behind it, whether corn and rice and oats are also problematic because they technically do contain a form of gluten. Um, he's got a website called glutenfreesociety.org. The thing about him is that he does provide all this clinical research behind what he says. He backs everything up. And um, I have seen it under a microscope where after consuming gluten, within 16 minutes, the gates that are that compose part of your gut lining, these gates open up. Within 16 minutes, they open. That opening of these gates releases food particles, undigested food particles. You need anywhere from 15 minutes to 8 hours or longer to digest foods, depending on which ones you eat. And you need those gates to stay closed in your gut lining while all that digesting is taking place inside. And the problem with people eating gluten is that, again, there's this issue of gluten where it opens those gates up way, way, way too soon, where these undigested particles, they escape and they get into your bloodstream. And your immune system does not recognize these big undigested particles of food. What your body and immune system is supposed to recognize are the vitamins and the minerals and the good things that actually come from the foods. But yeah, if you don't give yourself time to digest them, which is digesting is the breaking down of your foods, and that's what's happening in the gut. You're digesting, and all the vitamins and minerals, the good things of your foods, they are extracted, and the gates open, and those things get into your bloodstream, and your blood takes it to the organs where you need it, and and all the bad stuff in the food that you really didn't need or might have been toxic to you, some pollutant, whatever, that gets into your excrement and it goes out the other end when you use the restroom. So again, when those gates are opening too soon, those undigested food particles, the good and the bad, the waste, it gets into your system. Your immune system, because it doesn't recognize it, begins to fight those particles as if you've gotten something in you that doesn't belong, like it fights a sickness or a virus that gets inside of you. When the immune system is fighting, it creates all this inflammation in your body. It takes 2 months for your body to get rid of just 1 crumb worth of gluten. 2 months. And if you think about, let's say, for example, an immunization, they're putting something inside your body that doesn't belong. That way, your immune system can fight it, get rid of it, and recognize it later to fight and get rid of.
Allegedly.
yeah, allegedly. And many times what does the government say? Oh, well, after 6 months you need to get a booster, you need to get another. Why do they say 6 months though? It's because they know the immune system can still keep fighting and looking for something after the day that you got that. It can still keep fighting for 6 months. So let's say you eat this one crumb of gluten. Okay, it's gone after 2 months. But the immune system is still going to be fighting and looking for 4 more months after that, trying to get rid of it out of your body. And unfortunately, many tissues in the body look like the gluten protein. So unfortunately, the immune system can't tell the difference many times. And depending on how you're genetically made, different things to consider. There's different parts of you that could get attacked by the immune system because the immune system's trying to fight and get rid of gluten, but it starts fighting and attacking your tissue instead because it looks just like gluten. It can't tell the difference. That's why you're told and you read that gluten can lead up to and over 56 different autoimmune conditions. Autoimmune conditions. Autoimmune is when your body is attacking and fighting itself. So many people are getting asthma. Many people are getting all kinds of things, all kinds of different autoimmune conditions from eating this gluten. And as you mentioned before, your body too can only handle so much at a time. Think about our diet now too. People can say, oh, years back, people could eat grains. Well, for one thing, grains are made differently now. Secondly, they're eating what? Pancakes for breakfast, or toast or waffles. For lunch, they're eating sandwiches or they're having pasta or pizza. For dinner, they're having the pasta, the pizza. It's like gluten, gluten, gluten. It's the body's just going crazy. There's quite a few different reasons. And then people don't want to get rid of the rice or the corn. Yes, they might feel a little bit better eating those than they do versus wheat because the percentage of gluten is so much greater in wheat than it is the corn and rice and the oats. But you're still not going to be fully healthy. So you might reduce some of your symptoms, but you're not going to be fully healthy. And this is something that, like I said, Dr. Peter Osborne really gets into. He talks about molecular mimicry, which is the when your immune system can't tell the difference between the tissue and the gluten. It's molecular mimicry, when things mimic or look like, the molecules of something else. And it's just incredible. And he's not the only one that I listen to and pay attention to. I've done my own research too. And it's just really, it's getting out there and more people are realizing it. But sometimes, it can take many, many years, especially for many doctors to realize what's going on, especially if they are some of the older doctors that got their education many years ago. And if you think about it, unfortunately, these doctors, they don't have time to go and do all this research at home anymore. They're so busy with patients all day long. They're overwhelmed by this or that. I've heard doctors say, I just don't have the time to look into this. I don't have the time to look into that. And it's a shame because they're missing out on a lot of newer helpful information. So that's my version of of gluten and why it's problematic. I personally have had my own issues with gluten years ago, and that is one thing I will never cheat on, ever, ever, ever again, because of what it did to me. And I know 100% it was due to eating gluten. So I'm very passionate. If a person really wants to work with me, I tell them, listen, I could just say, yeah, sure, come on, come work with me and get myself the quick bucks. But no, I want to work with you if you're willing to put forth some effort and make some changes in your diet, because you might have to take some things out, or you might need to work on this or work on that. And it could be difficult, more difficult than you think. It could also be easier than you think in some ways, but it does take sometimes some changes. It takes some effort, and it takes the willingness to to do what you need to do to really care for your body. And unfortunately, so many foods out there, it's just crazy. Marinades, sauces, the restaurants you go to, it's some work, figuring some stuff out. But once you do, it's so much better. You feel amazing, you look amazing, and it's just worth it in my book.
Yeah, I certainly say for myself that amongst my various styles of eating and different, you could call them diets that I've practiced, I see the common theme of when I am not eating bread and wheat and stuff like that, I do feel better, no matter what else I am eating. But that brings me to my question for you. I think it's pretty clear that you advocate against eating wheat, bread, pasta, etc. You have experience being raised in a vegetarian or maybe even if you said vegan or raw fruits and vegetables, and then to the pescatarian, then the chicken. What do you advocate for eating these days?
Yeah, it's that question. Well, what do I eat? I understand. So there are fortunately a lot more products coming out now that do work as great substitutes for pastas and breads. In fact, the doctor I mentioned on his site has a bread mix. You can make bread yourself and using almond flour. Um, there's different flours out there that you can bake with. And yes, you have to get into the kitchen, but some of us don't mind. Um, and some of us, I think it would be a good idea to maybe try and get into a new habit of doing that if you're not used to it. And if baked goods are something you're really, really feeling like you want and need in your life. So if you need muffins, if you need, these breads, then make some or, find the substitutes out there. And there is a bread that I use. It's made from nut flours and flaxseed and no grains at all. It's made by a company called Base Culture. And I'm saying this right now and hope that people still, maybe years later, look at their ingredients, because some companies, they're pretty awesome in the beginning and they actually change their ingredients later. So right now I'm telling you that I buy a couple different breads of theirs. It's a frozen bread. You can't buy it in the regular bread section because of the preservative aspect there, because it's all natural. But I use that. I use some crackers that are made from almond flour or cassava flour that I buy. There's a brand called Simple Mills that do that right now. Siete chips. There's pastas made of chickpeas, and spinach and different vegetables. I will say that, let's see, wild rice is actually not a rice. It's a marsh grass. And so you can use wild rice too as a good substitute. You don't want to do quinoa, actually. Quinoa does not contain gluten, but it has that molecular mimicry going on. So your immune system also can't tell the difference. But anyway, I use wild rice sometimes. I don't like the flavor too much of it. It's quite bitter. So then you really want to get into using some spices or put it in like a soup or stew, something like that. There's just so many things. In fact, right now I'm working on a cookbook that I've been working on for a very long time. It's just taking forever because I have so much going on otherwise. But it's going to be for those that are grain free and egg free and sugar free, and really help you with clean foods there. But yeah, you have to get a little creative. I do want to say though that when people do change their diet and they find things that they like, sometimes they start eating them every day. And sometimes it's not healthy to have certain things every single day. You still have to be careful with your portions and worry about that. In fact, I'll go ahead and say that that's my hardest thing myself, is the portion control. Because you can get a bag of these great pretzels that are made of cassava flour, but it's hard not to eat the whole bag when it's, you know, 3 to 5 servings, but it's a small bag. So, even the nuts, things made of nut flour, nut milks, different things that they're out there, but you got to be careful your portion control and how often you eat them. But
Absolutely.
yeah, just start opening your eyes. I tell people we're in such a way where we're used to these habits. We go right into the grocery store, and what do we got? Already a list in our head. Or we already have the route in the grocery store that we always take. Well, go a different route. Go a different, down a different aisle. Spend a little more time looking at the products around the product that you usually buy and see if there's an alternative. And that's something that many of us don't take the time to do or we don't think about. We're just, in our zone or in our mode, our routine. And so that's part of what a holistic health practitioner does when they do consultations. Health coaches do with people when they do consultations. They try to help people kind of change the way they think so that they can make better choices.
Yeah, and
That's
sometimes that different route that you have to take might involve going to a completely different grocery store because there's a
that's
lot
true.
of grocery stores out there that have nothing good in them, is
Yeah.
the honest truth of the matter. And I just want to touch on base culture real quick. I haven't had their breads, but at least I don't think so. But they used to make a almond butter spread that was amazing. It had maple in it. I don't
Uh-huh.
I don't see it on their website now, but it is on Amazon. That stuff was good. Um,
Oh,
Maybe we shouldn't tell people about it if they don't
that's
make
good to hear.
I'll go buy it all before anyone else does. But yeah, there's a lot of nuance to things. It's not just rice, it's wild rice. Is it really rice? Is it really a grain? Is it really a seed? There's so many things to dive into that end up driving people mad. But what about, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on the plant versus animal diets. Because I know you had spent some time as plant-based and then also did the animals. And well, I'm wondering what your philosophy is towards that.
That's a very hard one to answer, honestly, because there is so much information on both sides, and there's pros and cons. There's pros and cons on both sides. I can tell you that in the research I've done, blood work I've seen, uh, things I've watched where people have done studies, um, I believe people fare better if they leave meat out of the equation. Um, if they ever do eat meat, maybe very rarely, um, and fish, I do think can be very helpful. If you're getting the wild caught, fish and you're kind of careful where it comes from. But yeah, for the most part, uh, I love the whole food plant-based way of eating. And I myself am still, working on that too, because I do incorporate sometimes, the nut breads or the crackers, and such. And but I think a person would fare best probably if it was always the whole food plant-based. That I give people this example too, apple juice could be really healthy if you're doing the organic, just pressed apple juice, but the whole apple, I mean, inside the peel, inside, uh, the apple, there's these alive enzymes, and you do lose some things out of your fruits and vegetables. Even when you juice them, you end up with all that pulp afterward. There's a lot of your fiber.
Yeah.
People have digestive issues because they're lacking fiber. Well, maybe it's because they're juicing a lot of the fiber out of their vegetables, so it kind of depends. But I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it really does depend, especially on the juice thing. Even if you do separate the pulp, now you have that juice. Now there's good stuff in it. Now you pasteurize it so you can sell it in a store. Then you kill all the good stuff in it there. Yeah, it definitely depends. But yeah, just a quick touch on it. I did live many years myself as exactly what you're saying, a plant-based whole foods, and I explored a lot of different subsections of it, and I saw a lot of benefits myself for some time until until it felt like I had to do something else. So now that's not what I'm doing anymore. Not to down talk it. I think like we said, there's always nuance and there's always gray area. So my personal thing is that there's not necessarily a one dietary solution for all people, whether it is plant-based, animal-based, and what's good for you now might not be good for you a year from now, or it's
Yeah,
an interesting thing.
absolutely.
So that's certainly an interesting thing, and it's an ever expanding divide between the plant-based and the animal-based, or the somewhere in between people. And I think it's so unfortunate how people get so caught up on that because both parties agree you got to get rid of the other stuff too that isn't even food in the first place. And I feel like we should focus on that. And most people would be in a better standpoint. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Um, very interesting. But another controversial topic, if you don't mind, essential oils. They are so demonized while at the same time being so pedestalized by others. What's your take on those? I know you have mentioned them being very powerfully useful. So why is it so divisive?
Yeah, they can be. But a big problem out there is that there's these fragrance oils, and people don't recognize on the bottom the difference that it's not an essential oil, it's a fragrance oil where it's been blended with other things to make it smell good. Um, so there's one issue there. It could involve chemicals. Another issue that essential oils, though wonderful, and ironically with me, I have a sensitivity to lavender, and I use essential oils all the time. Um, but boy, smelling lavender will get me into like a spacey whirlwind. It's pretty crazy. So each of us, like you said, it depends on the person. There's no diet that, fits every person. There's no essential oils either that can help every person using the same ones. Many of our essential oils come from plants that people are allergic to. So, they can't necessarily use certain ones if they're in a certain plant family. And that's something I touch on in my book, Homicide by Hygiene, because part of your hygiene and taking care of yourself might be using even these really natural, amazing skin products. But you also have to be careful of some of the natural things in it too, and whether or not it works well with your particular body. So I go into that with the book, in addition to dangerous things and beneficial things. But essential oils is definitely discussed in there, the pros and cons, and that's a great question. I'm glad that you asked that because that's so important for people to realize. And you have to make sure too that essential oils are many times organic or therapeutic grade in order to create change in your physical health. Um, and you'll read in some places, you can Google it and it'll say, oh, it doesn't matter if it's organic. I'm sorry, but I would disagree. So there you go.
Yeah, it certainly makes sense to me if you're trying to get the essence of something that you wouldn't want something sprayed upon it that's going to seep into it at the deepest levels and get into that essence possibly. I don't know. Who's saying that? The people selling the non-organic ones? Yeah. I don't know.
Usually, yes.
Don't worry, guys. Our product's fine. Funny how that works. But yeah, essential oils are very interesting. I use them in assorted capacities, whether it's adding them to an Epsom salt bath or, they are in some of my skincare products, etc. I've read that or I've heard that sometimes the reason that they are said to be dangerous is that they are more powerful than people realize and that people know, and they could sometimes overdo them and cause a toxic load on the body that way.
Oh, yeah,
And so
absolutely.
people don't necessarily respect them as the powerful thing they are. They just think it's like, ooh, some nice smelling oil.
Yeah, I'm glad you're bringing that up too, because just one drop of an essential oil too much. If you remember, we learned the ratios that were safe, in school for people. One drop too much, and you should just trash the product because it could be toxic to someone. That Some oils are 400 times the strength of others. They are medicinal, they really are. Medicine you can only take at certain strengths. It is not just something that smells nice. And it's important that fortunately, a lot of places, when you do read it, even online, it does tell you to mix these essential oils with a carrier oil. So just like a regular oil that is not an essential oil, that actually dilutes that essential oil, so it's not as powerfully strong, because it can hurt you. And boy, ever put a drop of peppermint on you? Just think of peppermint. Enjoy the repercussions of doing that. Or there's just a couple essential oils you can use neat, which means no dilution necessary. It's just, neat and clean, just right on there. But that's just a couple of them. You have to mix them and disperse the constituents or the parts of that oil so that it's okay to put it on. It's too strong if it's not diluted.
Yeah. Be careful with great power comes great responsibility, right?
Absolutely.
And so this is the last question before we wrap up. You have a lot of products. If someone comes to happyhealthnaturally.org and says, "Ooh, I want to try something, where do I start?" What are some of your favorites? What are some of the more unique or interesting ones that are great showcases that you want to briefly mention?
I definitely say my book, because that will help you make many choices. But bestsellers, let's see. I've got my face creams actually do wonderfully. I have a scalp oil it's really Ayurvedic. It's got several herbs that are used in Ayurveda that help the scalp a lot, that have created some big differences in some people I've got testimonials from. What else would be, gosh, quite a few things, but deodorant. I have a spray deodorant that has gotten a lot of good feedback. And yeah, I think that's a great way to start, and basic too, face cream, deodorant. People rave about my chapsticks, but I'm actually discontinuing the chapstick as they have been, because even though the plastic is BPA free, I really want to go to glass. So I'm going to have those in glass jars. And I have been told that some of my pictures, they can't tell whether it's glass or plastic, but if you read the description underneath, it'll say it's glass. So I don't put things into plastic bottles. Everything is in jars. And yeah, so to answer your question, that would be where to start. Face cream, deodorant, and actually I have a shampoo on there too that's pretty wonderful.
Awesome. Michelle, where can people find you if they want to work with you and have a consultation with you? We have mentioned your website, but you could, of course, mention it again, mention your book. Where do people find more of the wonderful information that you have to share?
So, of course, as you mentioned, my website, happyhealthnaturally.org, that has a tab at the top with my name that lists my phone number, and also an office where I work. So I'm in Asheville, North Carolina, and people can come there, in person and meet me and, set something up. 22 Sardis Road, Asheville, North Carolina, Advanced Chiropractic Center in Asheville Functional Neurology, with Dr. Gary Wallachy. And he's incredible himself. People drive hours to see him, so they get to see me too. And so that's where I'm at. I also have products at the apothecary next door, and we'll be having those in different locations. They can find my book on Amazon and Books A Million, a few other places, at least online. But yeah, for the most part, like you said, I have a YouTube channel that I am currently working on, so that they'll actually get little daily videos. So that will be soon accessible and hopefully enjoyed by many people.
What is the name of the YouTube channel?
Oh, they just find it with my name, Michelle Kolcan, which I should probably change to the Happy Health Naturally. But yeah. And there's a link. There's a link, and I have a link that was just created that'll be on my website too, so people can find me in different places. Because I'm on LinkedIn and a few other places.
Wonderful. Well, there's been a lot of fantastic information, whether this is someone's first time diving into these topics or whether they have learned more today. But is there any specific message that you'd like to leave our viewers and listeners off with?
Yes. Uh, Most of your products, I bet, in your home, if you've not figured this out already, have something in it called phenoxyethanol. Phenoxyethanol, pH it starts off with. It causes inflammation in the brain and the spinal cord. And the FDA allows it because they say as long as it's less than, 0.1% or whatever, it's safe enough. Well, they say on average, a woman uses 11 products a day, a man 7. You add all those up, do you think you're staying really under that percentage? And interestingly enough, it's been put in at least one that I am aware of, maybe more, but they know that it stays in your body as a preservative. So don't always think that even if you're taking things at a safe level, it's in and out of your body in one day. Things build up, foods that you eat that are not good for you. There's parts of it that can build up in your body and cause problems later on in life, whether it's your skincare or your diet, dietary foods. And that's why when you were 5 years old, you probably could have dealt with it, a lot better, but you're dealing with a lot more problems and symptoms now as you're older. So very willing to help. I work with folks, payment arrangements, different things, but no matter what you do, if you don't find and use me, spend the time yourself and look up, ingredients, find out if there's bad things in it, and don't just put in, what is this? Put in what is the danger of this? Because many times if you don't put in those words with Google, you're not going to find sometimes the bad information. You're just going to find the good or the pros that these companies selling it want you to read.
Conscious consumerism and conscious existence. Make choices today that you will be happy you made 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now. Because like Michelle just wonderfully said, things don't happen overnight, and a lot of problems are very quiet until they're not. A lot of these issues that we see our middle-aged and senior folk facing that are just attributed to age or just attributed to, oh, this is just something that happens. No, it's something that happens when you do X, Y, Z and ignore A, B, C for years and years and years until the body cannot take it anymore.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to think of the little things, because they're not so little when they add up. Wonderful. Michelle, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. And that was also wonderfully said.
All right, Zach the Health King product review time. Happy Health Naturally by Michelle Kolcan. I have a handful of products here that I've had the opportunity to try, and I am going to let you know how I feel about them. Let's start with the beard oil, the HHN Happy Health Naturally beard oil. This is really good. It's a really good beard oil. I used to have a very large beard. Now I have a small beard, but it still needs some love. It still needs some oil to stay hydrated, not be itchy. And it's important to keep your beard oiled nicely. It makes it smell good, and it also keeps the hair soft. This is a very nice beard oil. Unlike other beard oils I've used in the past, this one, the first ingredient is apricot oil and then avocado oil. I don't think that's super common for beard oils. After that, you get jojoba, balsam fir, cedarwood, distilled lime, and frankincense. It's a very nice blend. It doesn't feel very heavy. It doesn't feel like it's going to clog the pores if you get it on your skin, and it's a very pleasant scent. So that's a good one. After that, I have the rustic lime cologne. I don't really use colognes usually, or I haven't in years, because most of them are full of garbage that kills you, much like Michelle advocates for. This one, however, is all made with good stuff. Jojoba oil, Atlas cedarwood oil, vetiver oil, don't know what that is, lime, glycerin, witch hazel, and distilled water. So it's very, very basic. It's a very nice scent. It's not overwhelming, but it definitely carries. It has a bit of a citrusy lime smell to it, and it's quite nice. Rustic lime cologne. This one, the Daring Date Night Tropical Body Oil. It's a massage oil. Hexane-free grapeseed oil. Again, not a very common oil as a carrier, at least to my knowledge and experience. Jasmine, organic geranium, essential oil, organic sweet basil, essential oil, and sweet orange. Yeah, it's very nice. I honestly haven't used this one quite yet, but I have put it on my skin. Like, I haven't used it in like a massage setting, but I've put it in my skin. It's a nice consistency. It rubs in quite nice. It would be very nice and slippery for a massage, or I suppose just for general moisturization. This one has a very mild scent. This one is interesting. The Men's Ready Body Oil. So this is an oil specifically formulated for men to put on their genitals for their genital health. And that might not be something that people are familiar with. Why would you want to do that? Most people just ignore their genitals. However, a product like this with the cinnamon oil and the almond oil, the lang lang, and the other things that it has in it promote healthy blood flow to that area, which is just good for the general health of that area. So that's pretty cool. I'm not gonna get into the details of how it works, but I have used it. It's nice. It works. Hope you weren't hoping for more. This is the Clearly Handsome Day and Night Face and Body Cream for Men. This one's really good. You can see it's actually almost done because I like it a lot. This I've just been using as a general moisturizer. It's nice to have something that you can just put all over your body and also all over your face, because I usually shave my head bald. I usually put it on my scalp as well. This has a lot of ingredients. The first one, I don't know what that even is. Babasu oil. Never even heard of that. Kukuaku butter. And that's what's something that really stands out about Happy Health Naturally. She uses ingredients that I've not seen in a lot of other healthy, natural skincare products that I've used. And I've used quite a few. But perhaps it's those unique ingredients that give all of her products their effectiveness, because they've all been very good. They've all been very good. And that's the products that I have. Lastly, I have her book here, Homicide by Hygiene. Full honesty, I have not read it because I don't really read books. But there's a lot of good information here. Anything from the misconceptions and deceptions in marketing in the natural health world, to nanoparticles and better in cosmetics, to fragrance and what that means and why it could be a dangerous term to see in your product. Goes pretty deep into essential oils and explains some of those oils that I said I didn't know what they were. So perhaps I should read them. Talking about being cruelty-free, talking about managing your stress and managing your microbiome. A lot of good stuff in here. So again, that's Homicide by Hygiene by Michelle Kolcan. Really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Michelle was wonderful. It was a great conversation. I think everyone received a lot of actionables from the conversation. And I do recommend her product line. I'm not being paid to say this. I just have tried a few of them out myself. I think they are unique. I think they work. And I think they are very reasonably priced for what they are. I know Michelle puts a lot of love into making them. So I do wish her all the very best. And I thank her for coming on the show. Really hope people enjoyed. Go to happyhealthnaturally.org to check out Michelle's products. Go to zakthehealthking.com to check out everything I've got going on, the podcast, on all these sort of platforms. Make sure you subscribe, like the video, subscribe to the channel, show your support. It really helps me keep doing what I'm doing, bringing you these health conversations. So after I finished recording that video, I went back and looked even more through the book with a deeper or finer tooth comb, and the more I see, the more I really do authentically recommend this book. Even if you don't sit down and read it like a general book, to have it as a reference book or an encyclopedia even on your
shelf is a really good idea. It contains a lot of scientific information, and it's very well put, and it's very well thought out, and it really does cover a lot of specifics that can make researching natural skincare products a lot easier and simpler rather than trying to Google search through all of the nonsense online. So my recommendation for the book does go even higher than perhaps came through in that original page. As always, if you or someone you know is interested in being on the show as a guest, whether you are a health expert, enthusiast, or a business owner, or you have some sort of conversation to have about a holistic health and wellness topic, please do not hesitate to email me at zakthehealthking@gmail.com. That's ZAKTHE healthking@gmail.com.